All right. So about 6 years you've been doing PMU. How long after like you started PMU did you start learning or get into saline removal?
Less than a year.
Less than a year. So I think that's interesting. And you decided to take the lift course.
I did.
With me.
Like way back when.
Way back
it was
when.
on Facebook.
Yeah.
It was a live class.
Yeah. Is that what attracted you? Just it was on Facebook? So I'll take this. Or did you know anything about me back then? Or
I did. We met briefly. I remember there was a convention in Miami.
Yeah, was it the Microbill one?
Yes.
Yeah.
That one was fun.
Yeah.
That was like my first event for PMU.
Okay.
And I was like, just, like stars in my eyes. I was like, this is so cool. I want to learn everything. I want to do this. I want to do that.
Right.
And I remember we chatted just a little bit about like, you were just starting to like do the lift course on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe that's something I should look into. I felt like it was really important to know how to take the pigment out. If you're putting it in, you should know how to take it out.
Yeah, and let's like talk a little bit more on that because it's interesting that you feel like that because I
got nervous in the beginning. I'm like, what if I fuck up someone's
there's
face?
Every single subject
Yeah.
in our industry is up for debate.
Yeah.
Right. Probably the one that, not is like, bloodborne pathogens, cross-contamination, safety, things like that. That stuff's not up for debate.
Right.
But everything else is up for debate.
Sure.
And there's lots of different opinions. So I know that's a topic that's up for debate. You have some artists that feel that you should be 2-3 years into PMU, making sure your depth is good. And,
I can see that side of the argument.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And then there's some like, not just you that moved right into removal not long after learning PMU, but there's others that feel just the opposite. They feel, why not learn removal shortly after you've learned PMU or alongside learning PMU? That way, if they make a mistake, they can pull out their own work or whatnot. So, I would just love to hear why you feel.
I got like nervous, I think. So my first class was just microblading, and that was in 2018. It was no machine, nothing like that. And I was like, I was pretty good at it. I have an art degree. So I was very good at the drawing part and like, making sure things were symmetrical and all of that. But I remember being in class and like being supervised by my teacher. And I know I made one of the strokes like too long in the front. Like it went way too high.
Right.
And I was like, I looked at her, and that panic kind of set in. And you're like, what do I do?
I think we've all felt that.
Yeah, I'm sure, right?
Once.
That's definitely feeling.
At least once, if not 10 times.
And you're like, what do I do? So I just felt like that. I don't know if like nervous is the right word, but I felt like I should be able to correct some, my mistake immediately, or even like someone else's down the line, or like maybe. I think I was so new too. I didn't understand the concept of how things would heal over time, come back to me later. And like, I'm like, oh my God, like we got to fix this. And like, it's my mistake, so then how do you feel? Like you did it.
Right.
And of course there's a lot of other contributing factors, it could be their skincare, they're on the sun all the time or whatever. But in the end, it's still your work.
Sure.
So I feel like, as a responsible artist, you should be able to help them.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. For me, it's kind of not really length of time. To me, it's person to person, rather like a definite time, whether it's you've been doing this a year, 2 years, 3 years. For me, it's more an individual by individual.
Yeah.
Because some people, pick up a machine and it takes them much longer. It can take them 2 or 3 years to figure out proper depth.
I did not figure that out right away.
Yeah,
it took me a minute.
Yeah,
so don't get discouraged out there.
No, and not everybody does PMU full time.
Right.
So they might be just doing a couple procedures a month. And, for people like that, it's going to take them much longer to master the fundamentals of permanent makeup, needles, depth, saturation, your machine, those sort of things. And then for others, they're going to master the fundamentals much, much quicker, much, much quicker. So for me, like when I get these questions, like I've been doing PMU a year, do you think I can move into removal? It's not like, well, it's been 1 year, yes, or it's been 1 year, no.
Time
it's not
limit.
a time thing. Yeah, I kind of want a little bit more insight on where they are or where they think they are with their skill level.
For sure. Yeah, when I have students that come to train with me for lift, I always ask them, well, what's your comfort level with your machine?
Yeah.
Because yes, this can be done manually, but like, let's be honest, like you're going to get where you want to be faster with the machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So if they're like, I'm super comfortable with it, I'll have them send me like a little bit of their work so I know, kind of where they're at. And I haven't had to turn anyone away yet. So that's good.
Yeah.
But everyone, that's come to me that wants to learn, they're like, I've been doing it for, usually it's around like a year.
Yeah.
That most people.
Right around that year mark.
Yeah.
And I think probably at about a year is when a lot of PMU artists, they're starting to feel confident because they're seeing their brows come back healed.
Yes.
And they're starting to feel confident. Not everybody a year out is starting to feel confident. They're still struggling, but a lot of them, if they've got enough procedures under their belt, they're starting to feel confident.
Yeah.
And they're ready to move in to saline removal. And probably because, probably what happens with everybody is what happened to me. I was 6 months into PMU and it wasn't just virgin skin.
That's definitely
hit me
another
up
thing
for,
happening.
Appointments. And of course, way back then, this is 22 years ago, I'd never heard of saline removal. I didn't know there was correcting bad work. I didn't know any of that. So, I spent a couple of years trying to color correct everything, every single brow, no matter how solid and saturated it was, because you don't know what you don't know. That's especially all those years ago.
Yeah.
And so then, I felt so defeated with some of the eyebrow corrections, the color corrections I was doing. Some of them were shifting over to beautiful browns. And that felt really good, like,
all right,
victorious.
Yeah.
And then, I just started noticing the ones that were, more solid and were packed with more pigment.
Yeah.
I was just having a really difficult time getting them to shift over
because
if I could get them.
More room.
Yeah.
It's like.
Right. So I had to learn all that. And I sought out like Margie Grimm and Mary Jane Honke. Those were the two. And neither one of them are, performing PMU or removals anymore. But they were the two, like, kind of the leaders,
like pioneers.
Yes, they really were. And there was no solutions.
Right.
No, there was no solutions. There was salt.
And you just like,
and they would say
kitchen made your own.
They would like go to McDonald's and get the salt packets because it's like popcorn salt. It's really small and it will dissolve in your saline. So, we would do that. And now we know that you shouldn't do that.
Right. We have a little better options out there now.
We have much better, safer options. But that's all that was available back then.
Sure.
And it worked. It didn't work not nearly as good as like lift. Because lift is like engineered to remove, lighten and remove, pigment. We use certain salts and in certain percentages and whatnot. So so that was how I got turned on to it. And I think I was maybe 3 years into my PMU career when I started doing removal. And I'll tell you, Shelley, up until maybe 6 years ago, 7, not one, hardly, I wouldn't say not one, maybe in all those years, 10, 12 years, maybe 5 people reach out to ask me to learn it. It was not a thing.
That's it?
It wasn't,
That's so crazy.
People weren't into it. It wasn't popular. It just wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
At all. And then all of a sudden, I think when microblading exploded and our industry exploded with, a lot of the 2-day classes, then a lot of bad work showed up.
So that's what's happening.
And that's what happened. Then that's what happened with saline removal. Then saline removal it exploded. I'm like, wow.
There was a need.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is fantastic. I've been doing this all these years. Finally, like somebody's interested. No one really was interested in interested in any of my removals. Wow. Just not really, not at all.
And now they're like, I need to learn this.
Yeah.
And it is important. I think everyone should at least know about it.
Yeah.
I think that's something, because there's also, a lot of posts I see and people are like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, well, you have options. Like here's like laid out for them, there's glycolic, there's, laser, there's all these other things, and do your research, look into what, you whatever, believe in, want to know, want to learn.
Right.
There's, of course I'm going to push lift.
I think saline's the best though.
It works.
It works. And like, I even tried topical glycolics and lactic acids and all that stuff. And that doesn't work. Like topically, it just doesn't work.
It can't get to where it needs to go.
It can't get to where it needs to go. And it doesn't have that osmosis effect like saline. So it doesn't work.
Yeah.
There used to be Wrecking Bomb. I don't know if you
remember that.
Yeah. That crap didn't work either.
Yeah.
And then laser, they can laser. Look, if someone has eyebrow, and I'm not opposed to laser, I send a lot. If they come in with a big enough body tattoo, I don't like doing large.
Do that.
No, not large ones. I'll do them about up to the size of like a deck of cards, like a playing card, and that's my max. And even that is a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Than I like to do. I like to do the smaller tattoos, like the size of like a silver dollar, I guess. But that's where laser comes in super handy. Sure. And I have a couple.
And you got your people you send them to.
100%.
I do too in Chicago. I need to find someone near Tampa, Sarasota area. Yeah. So if anyone listening has someone there, let me know.
Yes.
I need a person to send people to.
But I think too, all PMU artists at some point, whether it's a year, when you're comfortable, when you're ready, at some point, should definitely learn saline removal.
I agree.
Yeah. And I do think it should be lift.
I do too. Obviously.
Well, lift it's just different. It's the only one I know of out there that can be used around the eyes, so we can remove eyeliner.
That's fascinating to me too, because I always get asked, when I have someone coming to me, they're like, can it be used around the eyes? Because I have migrated eyeliner. I'm like, yes, this product can. I'm not going to guarantee any other products people are using out there can.
Yeah, a lot of them state that it cannot be used around the eyes.
So
but
that, I don't know, that weirds me out. I'm like, I want a product that can be used on all types of removal, in every area. So the fact that it can't be used there, like why? You know what I mean? Like, why is it unsafe to use? I'm not sure. I don't like that.
Lift, right? Lift. I always tell you, it's like our anesthetics. Look, our anesthetics can be used around the eye, but clearly on the package it says avoid getting in the eye.
Right.
Because you can get a burning sensation. Some people more than others, right? Yeah. I'm super sensitive to anesthetic on the eye. Yeah, just the minute they apply it, it's like my eyes start burning like an onion.
Oh wow.
Yeah, my eyes are sensitive. So so there's precautions that we take with anesthetics, right? Same thing with lift. Yeah. And that's why we made lift a little bit thicker. So it wasn't so runny and wasn't going to really run and drip into the eye.
Right.
That was kind of strategic. But no, we remove. When I was formulating it with LI, that was one thing. I'm like, look, we are removing a lot of migrated eyeliners, Darlene, and these wings, these big old wings that women had done 20 years ago. 30 years ago with carbon.
The things I've seen walk through the door.
And they don't want them anymore. It's 20, 30 years later and they don't want these big old wings and they've changed direction. Now they're not flying this way now. They're heading down. They're pointing down now. So it was really important to me that we could create a saline solution you could use around the eyes. Nice. But on the course, I'm pretty adamant about that. We still have to be careful. You don't want it rolling and dripping all in the eyeball, just like we don't our anesthetics. So.
Right. I have them tilt. This is a little tip for everyone. When I do this corner, You know, I have them
The outer
tilt their
corner?
head, a certain way where there's an angle going back and like it can't go into the eye.
Right.
You know,
Right.
like position your client's head where you're not going to risk it.
Right. That's exactly what I do. And the other thing is exactly. So if you're working on the inside corner, they turn their
just
head
gotta
a
move
certain
them a
way
little
so it
bit,
drips
yeah.
down onto their nose.
Right.
Right. The other thing I do is I don't do the soak on both tops and bottoms at the same time. Like if I'm removing a top and bottom eyeliner,
Yeah.
like if both the tops and the bottoms are like
I don't
messed
do,
up,
yeah, I do the same.
I'll
do
open
the
up
top,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
do the, like separate procedures.
It takes a little bit longer. Like I'll open up both tops and I'll do the soak. I'll clean it off and then I'll open up both bottoms and I'll do the soak on the bottom. It takes a little bit longer, but it makes me feel better. I think it's safer.
Yeah.
It's safer. I just
Makes
feel like
sense.
if I'm opening up both tops and bottoms and doing a soak on both tops and
And
bottoms,
they're like twitching.
it's going to get in there.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to get in there. And it's my job to keep it out of there.
Right.
Right. You know, because even with anesthetics, if certain clients, if they get anesthetic in their eye, I mean, they're like, oh, I feel it. It's burn. You know, I feel it burning. Some people are super sensitive to it. It's not going to hurt their eye,
Right.
but it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then some people can open their eyes, get up and walk to the bathroom and everything with anesthetic on. It doesn't bother them at all.
It's wild to me. Yeah.
I know.